Good morning and welcome to this week's pet pairing. I'm going to start doing my makeup so that we don't waste any time because I do need to take the bus today. It is really horrendous weather. They're predicting some sort of a storm in the Netherlands, which means it's really windy, and if there's one thing I hate, it is biking when it's windy and rainy. So I'm going to be catching the bus. Thank you, please. I'm going to take the Inglot Eyeshadow Keeper. Now I'm really trying to finish this one before I go back into the Urban Decay Primer Potion, knowing that they both perform really well. So what have I missed in terms of new makeup releases? Like, I've been following a little bit what's going on, and I think the biggest new thing to have come out is the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette, so the one with all the grayish black sort of tones. Is that something that you guys have picked up? What do you think about it? I'll be honest with you, I haven't even watched videos about it. I've seen a lot of people post videos about this palette, and by the looks of it, a lot of them seem to really like it. I'll be honest with you, I do not have any immediate plans to be picking up Zendo. If I eventually decide to pick up another Natasha Denona palette, it will more likely be Yucca than Zendo, because Zendo is really not my kind of monochromatic color story. Like, her monochromatic color stories can be very like one tone in a way, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you want from the palette. I'm going to take the Auric Glow Last to just hydrate and highlight, because I've noticed that my skin has gotten really much drier now that it's autumn here. But when you're dealing with a monochromatic color story, you need to consider, especially from Natasha Denona, you really need to consider how likely is it that you're going to like the specific color that the palette is based on. And grays and blacks and anthracite colors, as much as I enjoy them, aren't really my jammies. So I will not be purchasing that palette. I will be admiring it from afar, and I will be happy for everyone who purchases this palette and really enjoys it, but that will not be me. In fact, I still need to get more use out of the I Need a Nude palette. So I did this mashup of my Glam palette and I Need a Nude palette a while back, and you will probably believe me when I tell you that, because I've bought like a crap ton of palettes after that, but I haven't touched the two palettes together, and I've been really looking forward to doing something also on my channel where I feature both palettes, like a little like week or 3 looks using the combination of the two palettes, because I think a lot of you were actually interested in that, but I haven't even gotten around to doing that. I'm going to take the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. This is in the shade 2N. So I'm not going to pick up that palette, and in fact I would like to create a bit more content with I Need a Nude first. Well, not really I Need a Nude anymore, because I dismantled my I Need a Nude palette. I don't have it as a standalone palette anymore. Like I said, I mixed it up with my Glam palette to make the ultimate like neutral nude palette for myself. So I am going to go back to that instead of buying a new Natasha Denona palette. But I am curious, for those of you who did buy the Midi Zendo, what do you think about it? I don't know whether I have missed anything else really important, so you must fill me in. I saw that Dior has released some new quints for the holidays. One that looks again very Zendo-like, like a grayish black color story, and one that looks more tempting for me because it has beautiful bronzes in it. But in the smack middle of the palette it has this silver, and that silver is like a thorn in my eye. I just don't understand what it's doing there together with the like warmer toned browns and bronzes. So I can't look at that palette as much as I would like to. I just can't look at that palette without getting irrationally irritated. Oh, speaking of irrationally irritated, okay, now I remembered something that has been released relatively recently, which I can't look at, and those are the Hermès quads. What kind of an offense to the visual senses is that? I'd like to know how Hermès has the balls to charge the money that they charge for that palette, being the luxury brand, like the ultimate luxury brand that they are, and make these ugly AF palettes. I just do not understand. Somebody please explain this to me. The eyeshadows may be really good. I'm going to take the Dior Skin Correct Concealer in the shade 1N. They may be really good palettes with really good eyeshadow formulas, but there's no way in hell I'm going to buy something that costs over 100 euros to be to get irrationally irritated every time I'll open it. Those pants, it looks cheap. It looks like a a high school project gone wrong. Somebody please explain this to me. Anyway, I'm not going to wind myself up anymore by talking about these quads. Have I seen any reviews of those? Maybe I saw Sophia review them and she didn't even mind the ugly packaging, so you know, maybe even that is like a personal taste. And I think she did like the eyeshadows, but that for me certainly isn't enough when it comes to a luxury brand. When it comes to a luxury brand, I'm not just paying for the nice formula, I'm also paying for the satisfaction that I get from the packaging and the wholesome experience. What else? I think Paco Rabanne, well, I'm not really sure about Paco Rabanne, the designer himself. I think he may not be alive anymore, but Rabanne have released also a makeup line which looks fine, and I've seen good reviews about the eyeshadows, but I'll be honest with you, they seem like pretty standard metallic and matte type eyeshadows, nothing too exceptional, so I'm not really willing to give them a chance. It's the same, by the way, with the Hermes formula. Probably a really good high quality formula, but nothing really special or unique to write home about. I'm going to quickly set the foundation with the Gucci powder in the shade Matte Natural. I saw that on Douglas they're finally selling refills for this powder, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really tempted to go and buy a color that is a little bit more suited for my skin tone. I can use this one as long as I don't overuse it, because as you can see it is white and I am not exactly white. But at the same time, I think as if I buy another refill for this, I'm never going to use the white powder. So maybe I should just do the responsible thing and try to use this one up before I go and buy a refill that is, you know, better for my skin tone. I'm going to quickly do a speed through of my brows using the Too Faced brow laminating wax. I've actually removed the stopper on this one because I am really getting to like scraping the sides here. I'm going to bronze with Nude Honey from Pat McGrath Labs. And what else? Oh, speaking of holiday releases, I was finally able to swatch in store the autumn release from Guerlain. So the two quads that were released for the fall that had like the warmer brown and orange color stories that looked a lot like they were baked in the promo photos and then they turned out to be just regular mattes and metallics. I just by chance coincidentally saw them in store last week and I was able to swatch them, and as nice as they were, the formulas felt very silky smooth, obviously very high quality powders, but honestly they were just regular mattes, and I'm not even sure that I would call these metallics. They felt more like satin type finishes, at least like the orange shade, which looked a little bit more like a metallic shade on the pictures. I wouldn't necessarily even call that a metallic. It felt more like a buttery smooth, but you know, still like a satin shade, so nothing too groundbreaking. So unfortunately, I was not tempted by those by seeing them live, which has totally convinced me that the quad that they released for the Christmas collection with the beautiful green in there is an absolute no-go for me. I was already like 99% sure that thing is not for me, but now having swatched the actual eyeshadows, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to wait for Guerlain to either go back to their baked goods or continue getting some of their baked quads, because I still really enjoy those, and there are a couple of color stories that I'm still eyeing from the core range. And most of all, I hope that they're actually going to go back to that baked formula for their core range. As you have seen in the thumbnail, one of the palettes that we are going to use today is the Bijou Brilliance Starstruck Splendour palette. So I am going to go also into one of the blushes. I'm going to take the shade Nymphat, which is one of my new favorite blushes that I have discovered this year. Oh, and you want to hear the weirdest thing? I, for whatever bizarre reason, for a moment there, for a brief moment, but still a very significant moment, and like quite seriously, I considered purchasing the Lightworks 5 palette from Danessa Myricks. I've never really been attracted by her brand, I don't really know why. I'm sure the products are really great quality, but there's something about the combination of the products together with the packaging that I never feel like is worth for me to spend the amount of money that she charges, because she does charge quite similar, you know, like Pat McGrath, Lisa Eldridge, Natasha Denona type prices, but I don't jive so much with her brand and her products. But that Lightworks 5 palette for whatever reason attracted my attention. But I do think that was a fleeting moment, and I do think the moment has passed, and I really hope that if I see it on sale for Black Friday, I'm not going to be tempted, because I do have some, you know, quite serious considerations against buying this palette. First and foremost, I think the packaging is super ugly. I don't like the packaging. I don't like those asymmetrical pans and the ones that are split in the middle. I just think that is so like visually like ugly to me. I can understand that it's very practical, and I can see how you're getting so much more bang for your buck, when you're buying a palette like this, because you get so many more eyeshadows. But like I said, when I'm paying over 100 euros for an eyeshadow palette, I want the visual experience to be a part of the package. And in this specific case, I will look at this palette and feel like I paid for the eyeshadows and not for the packaging, because the packaging is not aesthetically pleasing to me personally. Let's also try out together the Rêve de Camellia highlighter from Chanel. This is not a new release, this is actually a very old limited edition release from Chanel. And I have looked for this before on like second-hand type websites, and I was never able to find it. And I think it was just sheer dumb luck that a couple of weeks ago, when I was once again frustrated that the Chanel oversized highlighters hadn't been released yet, I went back on Vinted to search for the Rêve de Camellia, and I came across someone who probably had just put up a brand new Rêve de Camellia on their Vinted. So I bought this one basically instantaneously, and I am quite happy with my purchase. It is a really beautiful highlighter. I was surprised a little bit about the color though, because I thought this would be like a warm golden champagne type shade, but I don't know whether you can appreciate also on camera. On my skin tone, this is actually translating rather cool toned. It has a very strong like pink hued, like pink reflect on my skin. So it is not at all the warm golden champagne that I was expecting. The formula is quite comparable to the one in the Chanel oversized highlighters. I don't know that I would say it's the same. This also feels baked, but I don't know. It must be a baked gelée. It must be the same formula, but for whatever reason I feel like they're slightly different. But anyway, going back to the Lightworks 5 palette, I think part of the reason I'm attracted to it is that there are some interesting new looking neutrals in there, and there are a lot of greens. I think it's the greens that's really throwing me off there. And I feel like I need to buy that palette, or at least I felt like I need to buy that palette. I don't think, like I said, that feeling is still there. I'm going to quickly spritz my sponge with a little bit of Fix Plus. I think another consideration is the texture of the eyeshadows. They look pretty chunky monkey to me, and I am not sure how they're going to translate on the lid. I don't have like very textured eyelids where I have to worry about chunky eyeshadows, but I don't really like these types of textures anymore. You know, it reminded me a little bit of the textures that I have like swatched. I haven't owned, but I have swatched from Glam Shop. Glam Shop makes beautiful eyeshadows, but some of their eyeshadows are just way too chunky for my taste. I think I've just gotten really spoiled by the Baked Blitz and Astro shades from Pat McGrath Labs, which are just as impactful, or maybe not as impactful. They're slightly less impactful, but they're more versatile, and they're so lightweight and so elegant on the lid that I just can't see myself going back to those really chunky monkey eyeshadows. Okay, you're nice and zoomed in, and now we're going to proceed with the look. I am going to take this shade a little bit through my crease, and then I'm going to mix in this one a little bit, and this one will actually go a little bit more through my outer corner. I don't know the names of any of those shades. This is like a light neutral pink type shade, and this is more of a cool toned mauve purple shade, which actually matches my sweater perfectly. Did any of you actually purchase the Lightworks 5 palette from Danessa Myricks? What do you think about it? What do you like? What do you not like? I am very, very curious. I don't think that I will go back and purchase the palette because, like I said, there are some serious considerations against it. But I was seriously tempted by it, and I was really surprised because I've seen her Lightworks palettes before. Like, she's had volumes 1 through 4 thus far, and I've never been attracted to any of them, so I don't really know what it was this specific year and this specific palette that all of a sudden really made me desire this palette. I'm going to take a somewhat smaller, pointier brush. This is the Crease Pro from Sonia G. Oh, speaking of Sonia G, the Fundamental eye set is actually going to be coming this year already. I did see pictures on Instagram, but I don't think she has really said what brushes are going to be featured in that set. And she also mentioned that there will be something special coming for the holidays. So I will wait a bit and see what she releases for the holidays, because I don't know that I saw, from at least from the picture of the shapes of the brushes, anything that looked super tempting to me. With the amount of brushes that I have, I probably need another brush, like I need a hole in the head. But sometimes Sonia tempts me so much. And I can't say I've ever really regretted buying a Sonia G brush. I have some that just because of their shape, or you know, for whatever reason, I just don't know what to do with them. But for the most part, I use all of my Sonia G brushes. Actually, I've been using them almost exclusively this past year, and I've been thinking of doing a bit of a brush declutter for the rest of my brushes, because I've got three little containers here with brushes. Little is a relative word, FYI, but I feel like, especially with my eye brushes, there are some that I could probably forego. I have a bunch of synthetic brushes from Spectrum, and lately I've been using formulas that really require natural bristles. So especially, like, for example, Pat McGrath's mats, they do not really work with synthetic bristles. So I think I'm going to give some of these away, because there's no point in me keeping them here dusting away. I want to keep the look quite light, so I'm not going to deepen the outer corner any more than this. I'm going to immediately grab for my NYX glitter glue to apply as a base for the sparkly eyeshadow, and the sparkly eyeshadow is going to be from the Lunar Nightshade Quint. I'm very intrigued by that neutral pink shade in the smack middle of the palette. I did use it in the original video, but I just really want to explore this shade a little bit more as a lid shade, and I have actually worn it fairly recently as a lid shade. I paired it with the Astral Topper from the Bridgerton 1 palette, and they made a really beautiful combo. So taking the Lunar Nightshade Quint and the shade here in the smack middle, which is the shade, what is this called? Pale Amethyst, which is a beautiful, very cool toned, like taupe pink champagne. It is just such an interesting neutral shade. I'm deeply intrigued by it, and I think it's going to match very well with the vibes of the look that I'm going for today. Now, this shade is one where I'm not sure whether a brush is better or fingers are better, because it is quite a flaky type texture. Well, it seems to be applying pretty okay with the brush. So I think I'm going to stick to the brush, or maybe try for my other eye actually to apply that with a finger to see the difference. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it looks better with the finger. The flakes just get a little bit more well distributed. You will have shades like this where you really have to try brush versus finger, because it will make a difference. Again, just like with the green shade from Starstruck Splendour, this just applied a bit more seamlessly on the lid, whereas on this side it looks a bit more flaky and as if it's not sticking to the skin all too well. So I'm going to go back and press it also with my finger on this side. But it is a really, really pretty shade. I really like that. It's very reflective. I do think it has a little bit of sparkle to it, like a little bit of bluish type sparkle. But what I am going to do next is I'm going to go back into Starstruck Splendour, and I'm going to take a little bit of this beautiful eyeshadow here. This is the shade Opalescent Moonstone, which is a duochrome eyeshadow with a very like light salmon pink base and like a blue-green duochrome to it. And I'm going to apply that over top of that shade from whatchamacallit, Lunar Nightshade. Ooh, oh, this looks so nice. Oh, I really like this. Can you see that? That is very pretty. I am very happy. Yesterday evening I was really like struggling what I want to do for this video today, because there are so many different things we can explore now that there are 5 palettes more in the collection. But I am very happy that I went for this look because it looks super pretty. Hopefully it's coming across on camera how beautiful this is looking. And what I think I'm also going to do is I'm going to take this green shade over here, because it has slightly like grayish tones to it. Like it's a very interesting cool toned kind of green, and I think it fits very nicely with Opalescent Moonstone. And I really like to use that shade as an inner corner highlight brightening shade. So we're going to go for that green shade, which is called Celestial Celadon. I don't know if I'm ever going to learn the shade names of all of these new eyeshadows. It's just too many of them. I'm going to try to at least know the names of the ones that are my favorites. Oh, I really like this. I particularly like the combination of that pale amethyst shade from Lunar Nightshade and Opalescent Moonstone. I mean, you can also do the exact same look, and if you don't have Lunar Nightshade, you can just go for like Opalescent Moonstone all over the lid. In fact, it's one of the looks that I did only with the Starstruck Splendour palette, and I also really liked it. And again, I had the green shade in my inner corners. But if you were to apply that Lunar Nightshade eyeshadow underneath, I think the combination is super pretty. And the look is going to be actually rather simple. I'm going to finish it off by applying a little bit of a combo of these two shades on my lower lashes. I prefer to use like lighter shades on my lower lashes when I have a long day ahead. I'm going to have dinner with my girlies this evening, and if I put really dark eyeshadows on my lower lashes, sometimes they start to smudge around if my like my eyes start to tear a bit. So I would rather not have to deal with smudging, and I actually think this look just works better if we keep it all very light in terms of the rest of the shades. Oh, this is so pretty. Look at all those sparklies. Beautiful, and they're really, really green. I feel like if you put that green in the inner corner, it really brings out the green sparkles in that Opalescent Moonstone shade. Because if you look at it in the pan, the sparkles actually look a little bit more blue toned, but probably if you pair it with something more blue, they will appear more blue. But in this specific case, because you pair it with something that is a little bit more on the green side, the green comes out a little bit better. I just love that Opalescent Moonstone shade. With that said, I don't want to make it sound like it's a very unique shade. I'm sure that if you have a lot of indie eyeshadows, you have seen eyeshadows like Opalescent Moonstone, but I'm just personally really happy to have this shade, and I've just really been enjoying finding new ways to pair it. On my lips, I have Muse and Painterly from Lisa Eldridge. So Muse is one of her velvets, and Painterly is one of her luxuriously lucents. I think Muse fits the tones of the look really well, but I just really wanted something a little bit more also hydrating on the lips, so I did apply a layer of Painterly over top of Muse, and I think the combination actually looks really pretty and it fits the look really nicely. I'm just really happy with how this look turned out, let me tell you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts about all of the new makeup releases that have been happening recently. Is there anything that I am missing? Is there something that you think I would be interested in? I just can't wait to chat with you in the comments. What have you purchased? What are you liking? What are you disappointed in? You know, let's just give it a little chatty chat in the comments. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!